All right, what's your go-to time waster? Let's be honest, we live in a world where people can't go more than 5 seconds without having their attention captured. And look, that's me included. Hey, by the way,
check this out.
And that's fine, I guess. It's just reality now. This shift in the cultural paradigm has come from our psychological need to be constantly stimulated and attentive and have all eyes on us. And I mean, come on, look at me. For example, if I'm out somewhere and there's a brief, uninterrupted moment of non-flashing lights and sounds and colors coming from my pocket computer, well, this is what it looks like. Yeah, you know what? No. My go-to time waster isn't TikTok or Reels or YouTube Shorts or dating apps or whatever. Mine specifically is playing Game Boy games on my phone. First off, what a time to be alive. Try explaining to your grandpa while he's in the trenches of Korea that you can play a video game from your pocket window. Having an app on your phone that has a library of all of your favorite games that I legally own. What's next? A screenshot of a monkey that's worth $1 million?
Get real.
Dude, future generations will never know the struggle that we went through to play our Game Boy Advance. We used to have to play our games by candlelight as the Mayflower went over treacherous waters and the Commonwealth was fighting off plagues. On times that we would do road trips to my grandma's house, like for Thanksgiving or something, the way that I would play my Game Boy Advance is I had a belt and I would strap the belt around my head, and my dad had a flashlight that had a belt clip on it. So that flashlight, mind you, was like 5 pounds. So what I would do is with the belt strapped to my head, I would clip the flashlight. I would clip the flashlight onto my head and look at my Game Boy like this. I love my Game Boy. I loved being able to play games on the go. My view of what games were at the time was very narrow compared to the experiences that were at hand. I played a variety of games on that Game Boy, and I mean, obviously there were ones that fit the interests and niche of a 5-year-old boy. The ones that I have the most vivid memories of playing would probably be Super Mario Circuit, the Finding Nemo licensed movie game, the Spider-Man movie licensed game, and the Namco Museum. That was the one that had Pac-Man and Dig Dug and all those other Namco games fit into one cartridge. But then one day, I got a gift that would change my life forever. It was a copy of Pokemon Crystal. Now this is what I'd been waiting for. I'd been watching Pokemon on the local Saturday morning cartoons, so when I got a copy of the game, I was very excited to play it. There was one catch to this cartridge though. I don't understand how the engineering of old game cartridges work exactly, but there's a watch battery inside of them that saves your progress along the way. The one in this copy of Crystal that I had, it was fried. I remember starting a game, getting through a couple gym battles, capturing and leveling up my Pokemon, and then turning off my Game Boy when I was ready to go eat a ham Sammy. I came back and everything was gone. From all the progress I made from the gyms, all the Pokemon I got, it just said new game. Every part of it was eradicated from existence. This is my earliest memory of peril and confusion and desperation. Young Corn had to ponder on what the meaning of life was. I was sitting there thinking to myself, what is the point of labor if no reward? So for months, I would just play through as far as I could, and then if the batteries died in the back of the Advance, I would just have to start over from the beginning. So I guess it taught me resilience, if anything. Through the rest of my formative days, up until I was in college, the Pokemon games that I really found myself playing were Emerald, Gold, Diamond, and Pearl. And ever since then, with that fateful cartridge, I've had a love for the Pokemon franchise. I never got around to playing this one game, though. Go ahead.
Take a guess.
I'll give you a hint. It's a remaster of this one. It's kind of similar to a primary color. Do you want to phone a friend? All right, fine, I'll tell you. Today, we are going to take a deep look into Pokemon FireRed. It starts you off in the Kanto region of the Pokemon universe. Professor Oak, who is the town scientist, and he's introducing you to this new world of Pokemon. He talks to you about the world's inhabitants and the functionality and the uses of Pokemon, asks for your name, and then he also asks you a question that might have some political implications in 2024, so we're just gonna skip over that one. And then he introduces you to his grandson, who is your rival throughout the playthrough of the entire game. Oh, wait, so I'm allowed to name him myself? Oh, Nintendo. Yeah.
You're gonna regret this one.
We find out later that Oak's grandson's name is Fardass. Fardass is my go-to rival name, along with and Doodoo. Once you introduce yourself to Fardass, then you start off on your grand adventure. So you start off by waking up in your bedroom as a little 32-bit version of you. Side note, every Pokemon game has the most relevant Nintendo console in your bedroom at the time. Since this is a remaster, there is a Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, hanging out in your bedroom. After that, you go downstairs and then you just talk to your mom, who's hanging out at the dining room table. She hits you with some empty nesting dialogue, and if you've ever left for college, well, this one's gonna sting a little bit. She tells you that Professor Oak has been looking for you next door. You leave your house and then you get a glimpse of the new world that you're about to explore. If you didn't notice from the character creation at the beginning of this game, well, this is a role-playing game. Every person that you talk to is gonna have some shit to say, or they're gonna give you a cool item. But at the beginning of the game, they're actually just telling you a bunch of extremely basic shit, like, signs are useful, aren't they? To kind of just indicate that you need to be looking at signs along your journey. You eventually find your way over to Professor Oak's lab. Once you get in there, though, you find out Professor Oak's not even there. So you say, okay, whatever, and then you go out of the lab and you beeline it out of your hometown so you can start becoming the Pokemon champion. You get stopped on your way out by the man who was looking for you, Professor Oak. He explains to you that the Pokemon are in the wild grass right outside of your town. And he suggests that you might need a companion to help you get your way through it. Once you go back to the lab, you bump into Fardass because he's also looking to get his starter type as well. He is a snot-nosed little douche who wants to go and pick first, but Oak has more of a liking to you than his own flesh and blood, so he lets you get first dibs. So the choice that you make here is going to have a dramatic impact on your gameplay throughout the rest of your run. See, like if you choose Squirtle, you're gonna have an easier time at the beginning, but then you might have a little bit of a harder time towards the end. And if you choose Charmander, then you might have a harder time at the beginning, but a little bit of an easier time throughout your journey as well. And then if you pick Bulbasaur, well, it's just because he's a little cutie. These choices impact your ability to progress throughout the game. Because as we'll talk about later, different gym leaders only utilize one specific type. Choices! What starter will I go with? Bulbasaur? Because he's cute? Psych! I always go with Squirtle. Squirtle supremacy. Yo, where are my Squirtle fans at? If you're a Squirtle fan, rise up in the comments right now and drop, I'm a Squirtle. All right, I'm just kidding. I actually use Charmander. So, once you pick your starter, well, Fardass, being the snot-nosed douche that he is, he's going to pick the exact opposite type of whatever one you just picked. And on the way out, Fardass asks to battle you. This is where you learn the most crucial skill set in all of Pokemon. Mash your most powerful attack move. Always. Okay, I have to say there are impactful times when you can use defense moves to help you out, okay? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. And you're gonna ask me, when are those times to use defense moves? I have absolutely no idea because all I do is attack, 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 baby. That's all I do, attack. So after you beat Fardass, then you hit the wild grass and make your way over to the next town. You arrive at Viridian City, you pick up the package for Professor Oak, and then you go back to Pallet Town to deliver the package. Once you get back to Professor Oak in his Pokemon lab, Fardass will also be there as well, and he presents both of you guys with a new technological device. This one is called the Pokedex. The Pokedex is made to help you capture and record specific data of the Pokemon that you've met along your journey. That's why the game says, gotta catch them all. All right, after you get the Pokedex, this is when you really head off to the races on your journey. From here on out, it's catch Pokemon, battle wild Pokemon and trainers, beat the gym leaders, and become the Pokemon champion. You also bump into Fardass multiple times along your journey as well. Also, while you're out there, you bump into some silly little wacky characters named Team Rocket, which we'll talk about later. Once you defeat all 8 gym leaders, then you are qualified to battle up against the Elite Four. The Elite Four are the top-rated trainers in all of the Kanto region. Defeating them is your final step to becoming the Pokemon champion. After you beat the Elite Four, then you're gonna go, yay, I did it, it's over, I won, I did it. Once you've been through some of the most grueling and skillful battles that you've ever been in your entire life, and all of your Pokemon are crying because they have 1 HP left and all of their moves are gone, there's one more person to fight. Fardass. So obviously you destroy Fardass and then you become the champion of the Kanto region. And that's the story. I've always loved the intricacies of a Pokemon game story, especially when it was new and fresh and before the Pokemon Company and Nintendo just started slapping a bunch of corporate paint all over it and re-releasing it every year so you'll give them your money. Because in the grand scheme of things, it really is a coming-of-age story. Because what mother doesn't just let their 10-year-old out of their house to go follow their dreams of capturing animals and basically make them dogfight? Look, all jokes aside, this story actually really did impact me as a kid. Being able to leave your parents' house and follow your dream, you're winning over and over again, and then eventually becoming the champion of your entire region. This story, it felt really empowering to a little cornborn. Only were the days where I could ride my bike from my house over to the local park, and now I can do this on a digital world, become the champion of that world. On your journey, you do meet a lot of new people, you explore a lot of new areas, and you have experiences that could only be found in a Pokemon game at the time. The Kanto region is a vast landscape that's filled with towns and forests and power plants and caves and different oceans and plenty of places to explore. Pallet Town, it's your hometown, so, you know, that's as simple as it gets. There's a few homes and the Pokemon Lab. I personally think this is a really smart decision on Game Freak to be able to start the player off in such a small little location and kind of have it build out throughout their journey. Viridian City is north of Pallet Town, and it expands on Pallet Town slightly, with a few more houses to enter, and it's also got the trainer school for new players to go in there where they can learn about type differences and different items and things that will help you along your journey. And you also encounter your first gym. You don't really get to battle there yet. Up next is the Viridian Forest, which is right above Viridian City. The forest is littered with bug-type Pokemon. And if you caught a Pidgey earlier on in the game, this is a perfect time to level him up because flying type up against bug-type is... The area is considered a maze, but it's pretty self-explanatory on how to get through it. All right, so I'm going to be introducing a new segment to this channel. It's going to be called Cornborn's Pro Gamer Tips. Cornborn Pro Gamer Tip right here. There's a 5% encounter rate for a Pikachu in the Viridian Forest. So right now you have the opportunity to pick up the most iconic Pokemon in the entire franchise and get yourself a good electric type for your team. So pick one up. So coming up next is Pewter City, which is right next to the Viridian Forest. This is the city where you encounter your first Pokemon gym leader throughout your entire run. His name is Brock. Like in the show. So the Science Museum, it resides here, and it shows you a very interesting perspective on fossilized Pokemon. Make sure when you come back here later and you might be able to get yourself a special surprise. Just Google it. Okay, so up next is Mount Moon, which is to the right of Pewter City. This is a winding mountainous area that's littered with wild Pokemon and trainers for you to battle. Once you reach the end of this, then you have a choice between 1 or 2 fossils, and I would look up which one you want, because if you're like me and you maybe didn't play this game on a Game Boy, then there's not really a good option of trading, so might as well pick up the one that you're really interested in. So the following town is Cerulean City, and it's to the right of Mount Moon. This is kind of a water-esque city because there's a few rivers and whatnot. I guess you could call it water, but anyway, this is kind of a clear indicator on what type of Pokemon this gym leader is going to have. So if you took on Cornborn's Pro Gamer Tip, then by now you should have a pretty decently leveled electric type, so it should be pretty easy to make your way through that gym. There are a few important landmarks in the city as well, like the bike shop and also the unknown dungeon. You're going to want to come back here later after you beat everything to get yourself a real thick Pokemon. On the way to the next city, you encounter a few different landmarks that are pretty notable to talk about. You got the Rock Cave and the Power Plant. Look, I've heard that the Rock Cave has actually become some people's worst nightmare, as the game doesn't really describe how to get Flash so you can find your way through it. Quick note, so Flash is the hidden move that allows you to illuminate any space that you're in. So instead of having like the little dark circle around you, you can actually expand out and see what you're looking at. All right, I'm going to do a quick story real quick. So my beautiful, wonderful, fantastic girlfriend started playing Pokemon FireRed after I preached the gospel to her. She was doing a pretty good job, you know, from capturing Pokemon and fighting gym leaders and naming those captured Pokemon boobs and fart, as, you know, anybody would. But one day while she was playing, she slammed her device out of rage. And I went over to her and I said, "What's up, shawty?" I said, "What's up? What's the issue here? What's going on?" And she flipped her computer around and she showed me that she was so furious because she could not find her way out of the rock cave because she only had the dark circle. I took one look at her and I said, "Did you use Flash?" And she looked me directly in my eyes and said,
"What's Flash?"
So she had been wandering around the rock cave for hours, just bumping into walls and having wild Pokemon attack her to the point where she eventually just rage quit and never picked up the game again. Obviously, I was laughing super hard at her misfortune, but in that moment, it kind of taught me a lesson that should be super important for new players. You got to go into every house, talk to every person. You have to explore every nook and cranny of this game, because if you don't, and you're a completely new player, then you might be stuck in the rock cave for 127 hours and, you know, need to cut off your legs or whatever that guy did in that one movie. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, let's get back to the towns. Vermilion City, it's to the south of Saffron and Cerulean City. This is where the SS Anne docks. It's a large passenger ship that has a lot of random trainers for you to battle, and also at the top of it has a very specific move that you're going to need. Once you complete your way through the SS Anne, go back out to the gym leader that's there. He's an electric type and pro gamer move. What you're going to want to do here is go over to the Diglett cave, capture yourself a Diglett, and just spam Magnitude or Dig. You're going to want to spam Magnitude or Dig to be able to beat the electric gym with ease. Celadon City is directly southwest of Cerulean City. This is one of the largest cities in the game, sporting lots of housing for residents. You got a giant department store where you can go buy different Pokeballs and items for your playthrough. And it's also got gambling!
I love games with gambling!
The next city that you go to is Fuchsia City, and in the scope of the whole Kanto region, it's just an average town. But there is a very specific thing here that you need to complete, which is the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone is basically a giant maze with a bunch of wild grass. You start off in there, you pay them, I think, like $500 or whatever, and then you give you 30 Safari Balls so you can go out there and capture any wild Pokemon that you need. Once you find your way to the end of the Safari Zone, then you're granted a gift that helps you, again, traversal your way through the game. So another city they're going to have to go to is Saffron City, and it's a giant metropolitan area that is the headquarters of the Slivco. This entire city, it's just surrounded by trees, and it is the town that houses the psychic type gym. The fighting dojo is also in Saffron City, and if you make your way through the trial by combat, then you're gifted a Pokemon to add into your party. So one of the last places that you're going to visit is Cinnabar Island, and it's directly south of Pallet Town. So here we got the Cinnabar Lab, we got the Pokemon Mansion, and obviously the fire type gym. Pokemon Mansion here is actually pretty sweet because you can go around and you, again, battle a bunch of wild trainers to help you level up for the next gym, but there's also a lot of exclusive Pokemon that you can only find in here, and also it gives you a lot of items. So Victory Road is right before the Indigo Plateau. It is a mountainous cavern filled with wild Pokemon around every corner. You have to use strength to push rocks around to find your way to the end. This is a perfect area to train up your Pokemon before you get to the Elite Four, and then eventually you find your way to the Indigo Plateau. The Indigo Plateau is the capital of the Pokemon League. This is the final destination for Pokemon trainers. Once arrived at the Indigo Plateau, this is where you face off against the Elite Four. The different towns in this game are very cool because they all find different ways to bring a new atmosphere to your environment. From spooky ghost town to shopping plaza to casual residential areas, they all find ways to connect with each other to really feel like reality. Because in the real world, you would just go from your one hometown to maybe a neighboring town to go hang out with some friends, meet some new people, and, you know, progress with your life. Now, the one difference is do I have a tiny fire dragon shrunk down into a ball and stuffed into my pocket? No. When it comes to art style, this game came out in 2004 and was basically created for a device that's the equivalent of a TI-84 Texas Instruments calculator. No 3D graphics here, just sweet pixel art. The thing that I do love about this game is the sprite design, because it is absolutely outstanding. Out of all of the Pokemon games, this generation really did the best job of narrowing down the iconic look of the first 151 Pokemon. The pixel art games always have a way of standing through the test of time. I'm aware that it's 2024 and that we're stuffing actors into mocap suits, and we're using the computing power of 100 Bitcoin farms to be able to generate peach fuzz on the main character's face. But here's the thing, is that sometimes innovation isn't really always progress. We must return to monkey and find ways to play games that look like the characters were sketched in a notebook. Because realistically, in a lot of these 16 and 32-bit games, they were. Okay, so Pokemon is a fresh take on a role-playing game. Most role-playing games, you find your way out on an adventure, you complete quests to level up, and then you become the strongest, most respected character throughout the entire game. Pokemon is different in this aspect because you, the player, you don't really change at all. You're still that snot-nosed 10-year-old kid that was left to his own devices to roam around the region that he was born in. It's the Pokemon that you collect along your way that determine your strength. You are just the Pokemon trainer. You catch Pokemon, and then you gauge them in battle to bring up their experience points, and then have them rise through the ranks of strength. Okay, so when it comes to pacing, this game is the absolute pinnacle of game design. Your starter is a little more advanced than the other wild Pokemon that are around you at first, so that gives you a little bit of an advantage. As you work your way through gym leaders and through wild grass, the Pokemon that you're tasked with fighting are normally around the same level as yours. By the time that you reach the first gym, you've had enough encounters with wild trainers and wild Pokemon to where you guys should probably be evenly matched. So even by the time that you get to the Elite Four, all these things are similar as well, because all your Pokemon should be at the same level as theirs. You should have a pretty strong understanding of type differences, what items to use, defense attacks, all these different kinds of things that are important. Well, all this, I know it sounds like it should come naturally, but sometimes there is a big ass grind in this game. Are all your Pokemon not leveled up enough to be able to defeat the next gym leader? Well, get your ass out in the wild grass and start hustling. Especially with gym leaders that have a unique type base like Ninja or whatever the hell that is. You might have to fight them over and over and over to be able to level up your Pokemon enough to be able to progress through that gym. But realistically, I think the grind at the end of the day, it's totally worth it. When it comes to movement in a Pokemon game, Pokemon games aren't known for their sweet slide cancel mechanics, or their grappling hooks, or parachutes, or even stealth movements. It's pretty simple here. You walk up, you walk down, you walk left, you walk right. There are a few other variables in this game that allow traversal to become a little more streamlined, like the running shoes or bike or teleport or surf or fly. I will say that the running shoes in this game are a game changer. Walking from town to town can be a total slow burn, so when you're first starting off, the running shoes do make it a little bit easier to get from one place to another. The bike is an item that is teased to you shortly throughout your playthrough in the game. Eventually you'll reach the bike shop, and then you'll be so excited that you'll be able to move around fast, and then you look at the price tag, and it is $1 million. Good thing I already have $1 million
From all of my gambling, baby.
way to get the bike is if you listen to the president of the Pokemon fan club in Vermilion City, well, he'll just give you a bike voucher for free. So I guess the moral of the story here is listen to old people when they're rambling and yapping, because you never know. They might just give you $1 million. Teleport is also a pro gamer move. Here's how to capture a Pokemon early on to utilize this new movement mechanic. So in the grass right outside of Route 25, right above Cerulean City, there is a 15% chance that you will bump into an Abra. If you're quick with it, or if you got a Pokemon that's got sleep powder, you got to go out there, capture him, and then you'll be able to have teleport in your roster. So teleport is a move that allows you to pick up from wherever you're at and go to your most recently visited Pokemon Center. And this is convenient from when you're out level grinding and you're trying to get your team's level up, and there's that one Pidgey that just keeps kicking your ass, and you want to find your way back so you can start all over again. Surf and Fly are also both hidden machines, HMs, that allow you to traverse throughout the map way quicker. They allow you to move around quickly, while they're also moves that you can use in battle. Same with teleport. Fly allows you to pick any spot on the map that you've already previously visited and move there within an instant. It's a game changer. And then surf, that allows you to approach a body of water and be able to traversal across it to get to any point of, let's say you're in a town and there's a river, you can surf across from one point to another, or especially to get to Cinnabar Island, you have to use surf as well. So that's also pretty sweet. While in the grand scheme of this map, all of these things are pretty convenient to allow you to go explore new areas or also re-explore an area that you've been to already and want to find something that maybe you didn't see before. While there are cool and fun ways to move around this map, the main focus of the game is not about the destination. It's about the friends we made along the way. There are a lot of characters and random dialogue situations that you're going to bump into throughout your excursion. You are subject to meeting a lot of people, such as Professor Oak, your rival Fartass, a large variety of random trainers, gym leaders, Team Rocket, the sleepy guy on the ground outside of Vermilion City, the guy who invented the Pokemon storage system, the Elite Four. You also discover a B plot along the way with some guys named Team Rocket. Oh, you don't know who Team Rocket is? Well, let me tell ya. Team Rocket is the original villainous group in the Pokemon franchise. They are a criminal syndicate that's known for committing Pokemon theft throughout the entire region. From stealing fossils and technological devices and HMs, the Master Ball, and live Pokemon. I personally think that Team Rocket was a very unique way to break out the linearity of all the gyms. They provide little instances and battles throughout your quest to create a larger world at hand. Not only are you a 10-year-old defeating seasoned gym leaders at their own craft, but now you're a vigilante taking down the region's biggest criminal enterprise. The character elements here, they do an absolutely fantastic job of storytelling. While the characters here are absolutely a huge reason of what makes Pokemon FireRed such an amazing game, there are two elements that need to be addressed here when we're talking about what makes this game so dope. This is the element of a role-playing game that makes it uniquely different from any other style of game. Do you want to use your starter throughout the entire run of the game? Well, you can successfully do that. You only want to train water types or fire types or electric types throughout your entire run of the game and beat it? Well, you can successfully do that. Do you want to capture every single Pikachu in the region and take over the Kanto region with an army of electric squirrels in your pocket? You can do that successfully. Pokemon, it gives you choices. While maybe there are some choices that you want to do that are not going to benefit you whatsoever, you have the freedom to do it. Every single choice that you make in this game will impact how your final run turns out. The way that you balance your team's levels, who you decide to battle and who you decide not to battle, how many Pokemon you catch and how many you don't. All of these things impact the final totality of your playthrough. There's one other key aspect here that goes right along with the element of choice. Understanding strategy is objectively the best way to become a Pokemon master. Will you use the strategy of leveling up all your Pokemon simultaneously? Will you use the strategy of using defense moves to lower your opponent's stats? Will you use the strategy of spamming potions and revives during the Elite Four because you're just constantly getting wiped? Will you use the strategy of naming your opponent Fartass so you can get a good laugh every time that you have to go against that absolute Nepo baby? There are so many strategies here that can be unlocked and utilized throughout your journey. At the very basics of strategy, you really have to understand type strengths and type weaknesses. Some of these are basic, but then some of them are a little more complicated. Imagine the game rock, paper, scissors. Pokemon and their counter types are the digital monstrous equivalent of rock, paper, scissors. Fire beats grass, grass beats water, and water beats fire. Understanding type differences throughout your trainers that you bump into the road or for the gyms that you're going into, it can make it pretty quick and painless, or it can drag out forever. Type differences, they make a huge difference when it comes to gyms. Each gym leader is focused on a specific Pokemon type. For example, you'll find a gym leader that only focuses on water types. So for that, you'll want to level up your electric type. Thankfully, we aren't in the prehistoric era anymore, and we don't have to refer to the ancient texts on what is good against what. Want to know exactly which Pokemon is going to be at the gym and what type of attacks they have and what attacks they have and what stats they have, what the credit score of the gym leader is, what his astrological sign is, what his mother's maiden name is. Just Google it. Utilizing different strengths is obviously, I believe, to be the most important strategy throughout this entire game. Here's another Cornborn pro gamer tip for you. If you're looking to level up your Pokemon before you go to the next gym leader, this is a strategy that I call the old swisheroo. You put your weakest Pokemon at the beginning of your party, you throw them out, and then once they've had even just a moment of exposure in the battle, you take them out and switch them out with your most powerful one, so then they both get the experience points. The thing is, I think it's strategies like this that make the games a little more interactive than like a first-person shooter. Now, look, am I saying that it doesn't take strategy to be able to mow down a bunch of innocent civilians at an airport in the name of a terrorist organization? No, and it definitely takes stomach and years of therapy to get over because I played that game when I was 9. But the strategy aspect of what Pokemon is what makes this game so enticing. Because if you shit the bed, it's no one else's fault except yours and your strategy. Choice and strategy are the things that define these games, and they make them memorable, and they bring me back every single time. See, because the thing is while I can't figure out how like adult health insurance works or what a premium is, at least I know what's strong up against a poison type. It's psychic. Straight up, I don't even think I can think of one downfall of this game. And if I really had to, I think it would be one thing. These games are so incredibly slow. The running shoes are a big help in this aspect, but it's not even just the movements. It's also the duration of a battle as well, which is about 50% of what you're going to be doing. And yes, this is coming from a guy who's had his brain and dopamine receptors absolutely fried. I'm constantly looking for flashing lights and sounds to be captivated. And the question is my brain a continuous loop of Subway Surfer clips and the Costco guys? Yeah, and for that reason, I have to play this game with fast forward on, almost at 200 times the speed of the original game. Shit, if this game being slow is my only complaint, that's not even the game's fault. That's my fault. I definitely should do a little more brain training or something to have a little more patience and attention span. But at the same time, the slowness of this game is also a double-edged sword. Why wait around to see what types of attacks are going to work here and there when I know that whatever I'm going to do is probably going to absolutely wipe the floor? Just get it over with. So yeah, you know what? The game is slow, and if that's the one con I can think of, then that's a me problem, and that's my fault for wanting to zoom through it at an astronomical pace. You know, after reading through the script and kind of talking through this, I kind of realized that a lot of the points that I touched on are kind of spread out through the entire concept of all Pokemon games. But a lot of the aspects that I talked about are very specific to FireRed and Leaf Green, and it's the things about them that make these games so dope. The towns are in a reimagination of the original Kanto region, but in a newly updated fashion. The art style is very specific to this game, and while it does use a lot of similar sprites to Ruby and Sapphire, there are a few little differences that really hammer in the iconic look of the original 151 Pokemon. Being able to meet the iconic characters of like Misty and Brock and Team Rocket and Professor Oak, it's these kinds of things that really drive in the feeling of nostalgia for me. The game is dope because of the art, the gameplay, and the strategy and choices. With an unforgettable story like this, it's a perfect opportunity to put yourself in the shoes of becoming a true Pokemon master. In this game, it's absolutely one of the greats. All right, you have to play this game now. A quick Google search on how can I play Pokemon FireRed on my phone or on my Kindle Fire or on my Samsung Smart Fridge. Any of those will show you pretty quickly on how to play the game. Or you can also Google search local mortgages that I can use to take out to be able to afford my favorite childhood game. These are the ways that you can play it right now. What's your favorite Pokemon game? What's your go-to starter? Do you believe that Pokemon FireRed is a soulish cash grab that was made on the backs of people's nostalgia by the Pokemon Company and Game Freak to be able to try to relive an experience from earlier in your life, but in a more high-definition re-release version? How did you illuminate your Game Boy Advance while you were in the back of your mom's minivan while you're going on to your grandma's Thanksgiving? Let me know in the comments. And as always, this entire channel was made to promote my band. Here we are, Cornborn, signing out.